Network Entertainment.
And welcome to my podcast, the RJ Ledesma Podcast. In my podcast, I like to speak to business owners, entrepreneurs, and business leaders to learn more about how they think about doing business, what are their success secrets, and can we replicate them in our own businesses. I always like to say that many of my episodes are special. Each one is special, but this one is especially special because first of all, I have my returning guest over here. I got Gust, who is an implementer of the Entrepreneurial Operating System, EOS. Again, welcome back, Aya. Thanks so much.
You, RJ.
It's really great to have you over here. And I have here for the first time in my show since I've been doing it, okay, the co-founder of Mercato Centrale, the co-founder of my children, and the co-CEO in my marriage. I have my lovely wife, Vanessa Pastor-Ledesma. Vanessa, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. And this is actually my very first podcast.
I know. I'm so happy that I'm the one initiating you in the podcast, and it's truly a pleasure. I know you're a very busy person. Just to bring you over here, it's quite a challenge in itself. So again, thank you. I will applaud for my wife being here. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And the reason I'm bringing back both Aya over here and Vanessa is because, you know what, if you've been following the RJ Ledesma podcast, a few episodes ago, I had a chance to speak with Aya to discuss a bit more about EOS, which is the Entrepreneur Operating System, and it was a truly engaging discussion. And I thought that it was something that might help our organization grow, which is Mercato Centrale. And so we recently engaged their services, and she's been helping us implement this one and actually be able to watch online how they've been able to implement EOS in Mercato Centrale. And this is one point in our journey of EOS where we take stock and sort of reflect also on how that journey has been for us so far. So again, and as you can see from the nervous laughter of my wife, the journey is not like walking down the yellow brick road, but rather like a roller coaster ride with about 7 times that you go around and around and around and upside down and scream a lot along the way. But I think that's where people will learn. From our experience, hopefully, other entrepreneurs will also learn things. So I'm going to go back to Aya to talk about basically, first of all, for those who might have missed the episode we had or want to go back to that episode on EOS or the Entrepreneur Operating System, what exactly is the pain point that the Entrepreneur Operating System seeks to solve?
EOS is a system that really works with frustrated entrepreneurs, right? It's really the complexity.
Oh, that's us over here. Yeah, right here.
Yeah, me too. When I started this process, the complexity of business as it grows, right? When you're feeling stuck, you're frustrated with people, there's not enough profit, or it's inconsistent, and just things are not working, you're stuck. I think as entrepreneurs, when we start a business, we're so excited. And then there's a part where just things are going very well and we're growing, and at some point it just becomes a little too much. There's so much stuff and we don't know what to do, and we start to feel that feeling of getting stuck, and we try many things. So that's where we need clarity, we need alignment, and that's where EOS really helps.
It's sort of like that clarity and alignment. I think what people might also be wondering is that, you know, what makes, I guess, EOS different from other systems? I mean, is it something that is exclusive to entrepreneurs? I mean, can I just bring a corporate structure and use whatever I've learned from there and operate from there? Because like for me, I came from a corporate background. I just say, you know, if it works there, shouldn't it work also in what I'm doing?
Yeah, we'd think, right? I thought the same thing. I also started my journey in corporate, but what I realized is a lot of these corporates, they have systems that are in place, and when you join a big corporate, you kind of plug into a system. But usually when you start a business, there is no system. It's usually a system of the founder. And most founders, they're builders. They don't really put systems in place. So as we bring in people, instead of the business being run by one system, it starts to run on multiple operating systems, the system of RJ, the system of Vanessa. And then before you know it, this business becomes very complex. So what EOS does, or what EOS is a complete set of concepts and very practical tools that have been around for 100 years. We believe it's going to be around for over 100 more, that helps entrepreneurs and the teams around them get aligned with their vision, with tools to execute their vision and the strategy, and also tools to become healthy and more functional and more cohesive as a team.
Yeah, because I think Vanessa can also empathize when I say for many entrepreneurs, it's really ready, fire, aim, right? I mean, you just have to get the business off the ground, and that's your bigger concern. And the plumbing, right? The plumbing that can go after everything is being done.
Yeah, and I work with many entrepreneurs who don't even go through the ready part. It's just fire, fire, fire.
Fire, fire, fire. That sounds like
See what
RJ.
works.
Exactly.
And then briefly, when we talk about EOS as well, you said it's a set of systems and tools that you say have existed for a long, long time. So it's sort of like compiled all these things together, then put it and made it readily more I guess easier for an entrepreneur to use. Well, what is the secret, sort of like, what's the secret sauce that EOS introduces that other systems don't really have?
I think it's those two things, right? It's simplicity and completeness. It's a complete set of concepts. So we draw from concepts from Jim Collins' Good to Great, Patrick Lencioni's Health, right? Trust pyramids. And what our founder has done is he's used a lot of these tools and applied a lot of these concepts, working with hundreds of leadership teams, and then came out with a complete system with very simple, practical tools that now any entrepreneurial organization can use to scale their businesses.
And the founder, Gino Wickman, was an entrepreneur himself, right?
Lifelong entrepreneur. Started at 21, and then he was pulled into his family business. I think this is an experience of a lot of entrepreneurs that I've worked with, second gen. They get pulled into a business that looks like, wow, it's going really well. And then you go in there and you realize, oh my gosh, there's a lot of things to fix in here.
Oh my
right?
gosh, I can empathize with Gino over there, and so Vanessa can at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah, but this Gino has a talent, and he didn't realize that he had it as he was fixing his own family business and working with other entrepreneurial members of the entrepreneurs organization. He realized, oh my gosh, as I work with these entrepreneurs, I really can help more people. So he completed this process after the 10 years of running the family business and then exiting. He completed this system, and that is his gift to the world. And that's what we do as an implementer, is we share this gift of EOS.
Fantastic. And,
Thank you
yeah.
for the gift.
Thank you. Yeah.
I just want to say thank you.
Exactly, and this is sort of and EA is one of the a group of implementers from around the world who implement the EOS. Here in the Philippines, but across Asia. And just to be clear, no, for those who are interested, you can do EOS by yourself, and you can also do EOS with an implementer. So,
Correct.
very briefly, tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, so EOS is simple and practical, right? There are a lot of ways to implement it, like you said. The best thing, I think, for you to start a journey like this is you got a copy of the book Traction. And I've offered this before. Any of your readers, your listeners, if they want a copy of the book, just reach out to you and I'll send you a copy for them. But using the book, you can start to implement the tools of EOS in your business. There's also the EOS Academy online. So there's options for you to subscribe and learn how to implement EOS. And then what we find is some entrepreneurs just have so much on their plate that learning something new and then implementing it with their teams is just too much, right? So then you can also engage professional implementers like ourselves, EOS implementers. And what we'll do is we'll join you, we'll help you implement, we become part of your leadership team as an implementer, help you implement EOS in your company. And then when you've mastered the tools, we go on and work with other companies and you just continue running your business on EOS.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Aya, for that sort of like summary of what EOS is all about. And for those, again, no, like if you want to get a copy of the book, just DM me over here on the podcast. Now, like you said, we take a step back. for you to implement EOS, or for you to want to implement EOS, usually you reach a point where you hit a brick wall, or you don't know, you feel like, oh, I'm doing everything and I'm not growing as fast as I used to, or you're just struggling with the company, and you have to figure out, is it a strategy issue, because or corporate issue, or is it founders dynamics? And really, that's what we're going to talk about, because this is why I brought my boss over here, because we want to talk more about the dynamics of being founders of a business. Even if he came from corporate backgrounds, it doesn't necessarily translate into running successful businesses. And I'm going to ask Vanessa right now, and this is a great opportunity.
To grill me.
Yeah, but I think we're here to talk about business. So maybe tell the people here, what's Mercato all about, for those who might not have gone there yet.
Okay, so Mercato, it started out as a food market, similar to the several food markets that we see in the metro, but it evolved to a business incubator, particularly a food business incubator. So what does this mean? It means we help discover and scale and help grow small food entrepreneurs. And so that's our heart and soul. That's basically our advocacy, to discover and hopefully find the next big food entrepreneur, and perhaps even a Jollibee or a Potato Corner.
And what was the pain point? And this is very nice, because the pain point really was hers, right? What was the pain point that helped you come up with the idea of Mercato?
So we were in our honeymoon in Florence, Italy. And of course, in Europe, what do you do? The best thing you do is you eat. So we were in our honeymoon in Italy, in Florence, Italy, where we chanced upon the original Mercato Centrale. What struck me most was the fact that Italy is an agricultural country, and similar to the Philippines, we're very farm to table. In Italy, it was very much farm to table. So that's what I was enamored about, how a lot of the vendors in Mercato Centrale in Florence were serving the actual produce they would grow in their farms. And there was a lot of, it was very much community based, and there was a lot of taste tests, and there was a lot of different types of food. So I figured, and I remember turning to RJ and saying, why don't we do something like this in the Philippines? It's a very organized, it's under one huge tent. It's very organized. It's even, it's cool. It's air conditioned. And so a few months later, we found ourselves presenting the idea to BGC. And at the time, they were promoting Home for the Passionate Minds. And a few weeks later, we launched the food market.
And what's the interesting story? Why is it called Mercato Centrale?
Because the original Mercato Centrale was in Florence, Italy, and it means central market. So we wanted to gather the different food merchants in one location.
Yeah.
So it's like central
and I
market.
recall when we were coming with a name for that one, in the house, we were throwing ideas with one of these Jollibee marketing managers, and he said, and we eventually said,
Yes.
where did you get the idea from? Oh, because we went to Mercato Central. Call it Mercato Central.
Yes, we were thinking of different different words, different titles.
And the interesting thing is that because we were the first to get the name Mercato Central on Facebook, it's actually something that which we own,
ended up
which we
owning.
own online. Mercato Central, not the
And
the
then
Mercato.
the original Mercato Central, they were messaging us, hey, you're using their...
Yeah. But well, so that's really how it's like getting into marketing. And tell a bit more about giving an opportunity to help her out over here. But what are the alumni of Mercato Central that we've been very proud to see grow out of the
we've
market?
been very proud. Gino's Pizzeria actually started with us.
wow.
Tokyo Tempura.
Gino's had a small-
They had a small.
they already had,
They
but-
actually joined our second.
Yeah.
Their second branch joined our one of our markets. So many: Manang's Chicken, Mochiko, Buya Bagel.
Yeah. You got Thai
yes.
Mango, which became very
Thai
popular as
Mango,
well.
of course.
And many others have actually grown. And then, but there comes a point, I guess, in our growth, right? So we've been around for about 14, 15 years right now, that we sort of hit that that point. Okay, how come we're not where we come into conflict, and sometimes we're saying, how come the company's not getting any bigger? I think that's the point where uh, we hit the point of founder dynamics, right? It might not be so much a strategy, but I guess the relationship between me and Vanessa. And I'm gonna bring this back to you first, Aya, before maybe you can help process us over here. But then, what are the usual issues which you see when it comes to founders when it comes to EOS and they want to grow the company, but sometimes there's a concern with the founders.
Um, Gosh, this relationships. No, I remember right now when you were just saying that. I remember Gino in my head saying, "EOS is a system for managing human energy." When we build entrepreneurial companies, entrepreneurs, we come into it as humans with a lot of hope and a lot of ambition, and we're helping each other. And then before we know it, we're starting to see things differently. And while we still want the same thing, we start to put in more and more of our individual selves into that business. So without the words and without the framework to clarify what it is that we're doing, it's so easy. And I've seen it, and it's happened to me as well, not just between couples, but among family members, which is a lot of the companies that I work with. They're family companies, corporations, right? Sisters, brothers, siblings working together,
And
parents.
those are challenges.
Yeah,
Big
yeah.
challenge,
That their personal lives bleed into their business lives, and then the business lives bleed back, right?
Yes.
So there's all of this. So you're starting to talk about business, and then you surface some other thing that has happened in your personal life that now has a connection to and this just all of this complexity just makes both personal and business life just really complex.
And those are the sort of issues which many founders like ourselves, I guess, find ourselves in, unfortunately, because that's just the trajectory. If you come together in doing business, like for us, Vanessa, yeah. And so, but not wearing the role of the host, but rather somebody going through the business itself. What were the key issues that you felt as get going through, that we're struggling because we put together this business?
Well, one of the biggest issues or concerns rather was when RJ and I would come up with decision making, or the yeah. So one of the things is that RJ, he because he's exposed to so many people and so many things and so many ideas. There's so many things that he wants to do for the company. Like on a Monday, for example, he wants to put up an indoor food market. And on a Tuesday, he wants to put up an app, tech naman. And Wednesday, he wants to collaborate with this group and then partner with this group. So it came to the point now we didn't know which direction we were, or I didn't know which one to do first. So focus was lacking. And I'd forget about the basic things like HR, human resource. We need to hire these people first before we venture onto partnerships with them. So I'm starting to, I started to forget, okay, which ones do we do first? Isn't it that we should take care of the operations manual first before anything else? Because we want to build a system. So those are the biggest concerns. I'm always after, okay, are we supposed to organize first? And then what are the steps? And then RJ always wants to make it big and then wants to do so many different things. But it came to the point na I was also thinking, I would also justify the fact that, hey, but because of RJ and because of the team, and I still believe to this day that Mercato Centrale is like an overnight success. I mean, we built a food business incubator that's pretty much known, I think, nationwide, because we've opened as far down as Cagayan, and we've helped so many food entrepreneurs. So I always go back to, at least it's a successful story naman. It's a successful business. We're profiting. So sige na lang. I'll just follow na lang the directives of okay, we'll do tech this week, and then we'll partner with this team the next week until such time na okay, I think we're really lost na.
Yeah.
Where do we go?
And also, I think one of the issues we have also as well was decision making. Who should make the decisions in the company?
Yes, so we didn't know, okay, who among us is the visionary and who among us is the sort of the execution person and who should lead what. So for the longest time, RJ was handling marketing and biz dev, whereas I was handling finance and operations, and I wasn't quite sure, is that correct? So, we were kind of lost, but then at the same time, I thought, but the business is working, the business model is working, we're profiting. So maybe it's correct, but I just wasn't sure. And RJ has a corporate background. I worked in a law firm, so I tried as much as possible to marry the two, to create a system of sort. And then I went to a master's in entrepreneurship. I applied the things that I learned there, but somehow I felt there was always something missing in the mix in terms of systems.
On my part, I think one of the things which is very interesting coming from what Aya was saying was that it's sort of the what bleeds into together, the personal life and then the business. It doesn't separate, and it causes a lot of tension. I guess in the marriage, which goes to business, which goes back to the marriage, which goes back to the business, and
Yeah.
and not a healthy way to get along. I guess so for me that's one of the bigger issues which we had over here, and at the same time, it's sort of like. Kung sino mas malakas yung boses, yan yung masusunod.
Ikaw na,
Diba?
ikaw.
No, but because sometimes there are parts that,
Yeah.
Vanessa feels very strongly about, and I don't want to, because if I disagree with her here in the boardroom, it's going to reflect when we get back home, right? Or for example, we have we exchange words there, or I go, what Vanessa often tells me is that you're talking to me, you wouldn't talk to your business partner the way that you're talking to me. So it and obviously that bubbles over from how we've been working together. Maybe familiarity breeds contempt because you're married and you're also business partners at the same time. And I'm of the feeling that we are the only ones who operate this way. So and like when as you nod, I know probably go, yeah, I've RJ, trust me, I've seen it. I've seen it so many times. How does EOS actually help founders like ourselves? I guess clarify. Like you said, it brings clarity and simplicity. How does it sift through these relationships? You've got husband-wife dynamics, brother-sister dynamics, father-children dynamics. How does EOS sort of clarify things?
EOS clarifies things by using a model, right? So I think what it does first is it helps families, the players in the game, family members, and even the employees just step out of the business and look at the business from an outsider's perspective. When we're in the weeds and we're just solving day to day, we're just really doing our best. It's hard to see what that dynamic looks like. But then you step out, and I've shown this to you even when I was giving you the overview, right? The 6 key components of a business. And you'll see that in a business, there are 6 things we need to be really strong at. One of them is people. We have to have great people in the business. And so we have tools to understand what that means, right? When we're in the business, the first thing we do is we clarify what are the seats, what are the roles that the business needs. And like when you're a one-person for-profit company, you'd know there's at least 3. There's a role to sell, you have to get customers. There's a role to deliver, you have to deliver whatever you promise to these customers. And then there's a role for finance, for just managing resources. So just having clarity that, okay, there are 3 roles. And then clarifying, we use a tool called the accountability chart. Clarifying what the business needs of each of the roles. So taking all of the personalities out, all of the egos out, and the relationships out. If
And
you wanna,
that's quite a
it's very hard.
difficult, very difficult.
It's
also.
very hard, right? So in fact, when we actually go through this exercise, so when you're implementing with a book or even with a professional implementer, we help you get into this frame of mind, right? And when we're doing this in a session room, we'll say, "Okay, guys, Imagine everyone is fired. Remember this?
Yeah, yeah.
Everyone is fired,
It's
so you don't
actually
have
the
to
best.
worry, right?
Everybody's fired.
Yeah. And you're hired today, you're engaged as a board of directors for this company. You want to really fight
For
for
the
what's
company.
best for the company, right? To achieve its vision, make this dent in the universe. What are the roles? What do we need for 6 to 12 months down the road of each role? And we clarify that. When that's clear, this is just an example of the tool. Then we say, okay, let's apply for these roles, right? So who is the best person? And then we clarify which person needs to do which and what is expected. So I think the clarity that we're all doing this for the greater good of the business, it's not about seniority. It's not about your role in the family. That's totally different, right? So I think clarifying that, giving people the tool to clarify for themselves now who fits. It's not about, you're not in the seat because you're a bad person. It's just you're not in the seat because you're not a good fit. At least for now, where the company is. So just getting that clarity, and then from that clarity, people can align. People can, we call it disagree and commit. We can say, Vanessa, you're a great person and I love you, but based on this seat, you will not be
not a
happy.
fit.
You're not a good fit, right? So who's a great fit for the business? So that's what we do. I've seen this so many times and one of our roles is kind of to call it out, right? That, when we go into a business, we want to preserve what's most important, which is really our personal relationship. So let's talk about parent-children relationships, right?
Yeah.
Children especially in the Philippines, were raised to honor and respect our parents. And sometimes our parents, when you're in a business, they don't know what's relevant anymore today for the business. So where do you disagree with how do you do that, right?
How do you
With a
disagree
parent.
to your
And as a parent, how do you distance yourself emotionally from the decisions that are great for the business, may not feel good for ego and things like that? EOS gives you the tools to clarify that so that your personal life, there's a kind of a framework that separates that. But at the end of the day, as you build a better business with this clarity, your personal life gets better also. So that's what happens there.
Got that. For me, I just wanted to share, so we've been going through this process and we'll be discussing a bit more about the process in just a bit. But one of the things that has led to greater clarity for me was the role of the visionary versus the integrator. So just to say that, for many, and I guess that's why that's the brilliance of what Gino put together the system, realizing that many entrepreneurs are visionaries, but they're not necessarily people who can run the business pretty well, right?
Yes.
And in my case, I think I'm a very strong visionary. Like Vanessa was saying, I'm exposed to so many different ideas. I'm exposed to so many different things. They may be relevant at one time or another time, but not all at the same time. And you need somebody else to execute or to sort of filter the ideas if the organization can do that. And so I start realizing that my role is not necessarily to be day to day, but my role is more strategic. My role is to say, yes, soak up all those ideas, put them all together, then throw them to the executor, or what you call integrator, for them to see if it's relevant right now or maybe in the future, in the next year, next quarter. And then, but his job is to go back to you and say, hey, your job now is to say, okay, you like this idea, then connect me to the people who can help you make it happen. Backpacking into being visionary, networker, business developer, and it plays to my strengths as an entrepreneur and as a visionary, because that's where I see myself. And so that's one of the interesting things that we found out. How about you, Vanessa? What did you?
No, and to add to that, what I love is that the integrator gets to be the one to make that judgment if your vision is the right time to do it now, or if your vision fits what our goals are. So parang somebody else is judging you and you're not the one calling the shots every single time.
Exactly. So that's where a lot of the clarity came in, and that's why EOS was very helpful for us. Now, we'll move a bit ahead, no? So when you get an EOS implementer for the program, they actually have a structured process where they onboard and teach everybody about EOS. Can you explain just a bit more about that one, Aya, so that we can help people understand where Vanessa and I are in the process with Mercato?
Sure. We have a proven process. So EOS is a journey. It starts with us sharing what EOS is about, not just to the founders of the business, but to the entire senior executive team, the leadership team. It's a journey for the leadership team. It's a journey for becoming the best team ever, right? So that's the first step, is for them to get an overview and then see, is this good for us? Does this fit our culture? Is this what we want? Because EOS makes things simple, not necessarily easier. Sometimes, as you have experienced, right? When the issues are so clear and you need to make a decision, you need to now make that decision, and that's uncomfortable. So we do an overview, and then we start, and then there's 2 phases to setting up, to implementing EOS in your business. The first 3 full days, and that's spaced about 30 days apart, is where you set up what we call the foundational tools. EOS is a complete set of concepts and practical tools, but 5 of those tools are foundational. It's like brushing your teeth, eating 3 times a day. You're gonna use that throughout this journey, right? So over the first 3 sessions, we set up foundational tools. Foundational tools to first clarify roles. We call that the accountability chart. Tools to clarify priorities, because when we're building a business, everything is important. We want to do everything, and we don't have unlimited resources, so we set up those tools. We call them rocks. And then a couple of other tools: meeting pulse, a scorecard, and then what we call the vision traction organizer. It's a tool to just put on paper clearly and simply exactly where you want to take this business. You answer 8 questions. You discuss and debate each one to get clarity, right? So once you've set up those foundational tools, you're set up for EOS implementation. You then enter execution phase. And in the execution phase, the dynamics change. You're now executing what you said you want to do for your business, right? So during that process, as a leadership team, you do quarterly offsite sessions where you get out of the business, stay out of the business, and then see, just like going up a tree to see if you're clearing the forest in the right way. And then you look at what you've done over the past quarter. You look at the plan for the year. You see where you're at now. You plan for the next quarter. You take it just 90 days at a time, and you move the business forward. That's generally the process of implementation.
Sa 100 tanong, meron akong 1,000,000 sagot. At minsan, mas marami pang tanong. This is Kuya Kim, and I'm thrilled to invite you to my podcast under the Pod Network, Ano Ba Talaga? With me, Kuya Kim Atienza. Kaya kung may gusto kayong malaman, matutunan o madiscover na bago, makinig na kayo sa podcast na to. Marami akong mga guests, topics, trivia, and revelations on the show. Ang masisiguro ko sa inyo, you'll always learn something new. Just search for Ano Ba Talaga? With me, Kuya Kim Atienza, on Spotify and wherever you listen to podcasts.
And currently, Aya, what stage are we in again right now for Mercato?
Right now, you're in setup.
We're in the
So
setup stage,
the next
right?
session ends the vision building phase. And this is where you're going to come up with your plan for 2026, and we'll seal that.
So right now we're doing the foundational setup here for EOS, and we're really here to also share, because many entrepreneurs. I mean, this was a break.
Yeah.
It was a breakthrough for me and for Vanessa. But then maybe we want to share a bit more about our own breakthroughs for this one, and what we found the hardest. I guess what was the hardest challenge in the foundational setup of EOS for Mercato, but which actually was for us a breakthrough because we were able to discuss things. How about for you, Vanessa? What was the biggest challenge that that we had to sort of let go of?
Well, one of the biggest challenges was being honest to our team. I mean, Aya told us, this is the time to not filter anything. And so what was hard was telling our operations manager, I think you're great at setting up markets, but, the follow through or the maintenance is, quite of a problem. So
Requires work, di ba?
Yeah.
And we're not sure if your skill set sort of
at par.
meets
So
what we have to do.
of course that would hurt him, but it's something that we had to say. And another person, part of the team, we realized she's not a leadership role pala. So we realized, it's very hard as leaders telling somebody that who's been part of the company for so long, and that's when you realize, oh, they're not fit for the seat pala. So that's very difficult. Another thing that was quite difficult, although it's not, I don't want to consider it as difficult. I think it was a very good thing actually, was when I realized that I no longer wanted to be the integrator. For long, I was actually doing the integrator seat, which is the one gelling the whole team together based from the visionaries' goals and wishes to what every day-to-day execution will be like. And that was one of the things that I liked about EOS, the fact that we can say, oh, do we really, it's not just are you fit for the seat, but do you want the seat? And I realized that the company no longer needs me. It's already, I'm already
I need
part
you.
of, yes, but I should be part of the owner's box na lang. And that's when I realized, okay, so if the systems are in place, I'm actually no longer needed on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. Actually, that was when we had the discussion. That was for me one of the hardest challenges because, I also relied a lot on Vanessa to make decisions. So, I was leaning on her because what she likes to do, I don't really like to do. She likes handling finance. She likes handling operations. She likes handling HR. I often say that what I like to talk about in 5 minutes, she likes to talk about in 5 hours. So it's not something that my temperament.
I love it.
Temperament can do. But then if you sit me down to talk about business dev and strategy, let's sit down and keep on going. So when we got into the point where we talk about a concept, and maybe we can share a bit more about this one, Aya, right person, right seat. And we were looking at the most important seats over there. She was saying, "Oh, I don't have to be in any of these seats." And I was going, "Why can't you be there? I need you to be there because I need somebody to watch."
I remember that. Yes. Forcing the issue.
But the thing is, you can't have two people in one seat because it just makes things more confusing, or it makes things more difficult for the organization to move forward. So again, it's a discomfort with the role that you have to play, but you sort of have to say, we have to do this one for the betterment of the company. I guess that's one of the things that for us to grow. And one of the harder parts also is because I always felt that you don't have sometimes I have difficulty sometimes, because if you're not a large company, you often have difficulty in filling the roles with the appropriate people. So you're saying, I'll get by with what I have here right now in terms of resources and wait for the best time to come along to bring in more people who might be better for the role, rather than saying, maybe this person can be there, but you have to build him up to that role to be the right person for the right seat that you talk about. And for us, I think that was something that got a bit more clarified, or a lot more clarified when it came to working together with EOS. So I'm going to throw it back to you, Aya. So we could keep on talking about the right person, right seat, and then the owner's box. Maybe you can help people better understand what we're talking about here.
Sure. So EOS gives you tools to just think about roles in your business clearly from the perspective of what the business needs to achieve 6 to 12 months, maybe a little more down the road, right? So what I find is, without these tools, we just bring our entire person into each of these roles, right?
My goodness, yes.
So, but with these tools, we have a framework and we're able to delineate, right? So we're saying, okay, right person first, right people are people who share our values, who share those essential guiding principles that will dictate how we act, even when there are no specific rules, right? As entrepreneurial companies, we don't have time to build these thick handbooks of codes of conduct. Nobody reads them, right?
Yes, exactly.
What we need are very clear rules that help us make quick decisions. So as an example, I had a conversation with Vanessa. She was reading Good to Great, which is one of the books that we read as a team, right?
Exactly.
And she says, you know what, thinking about it, I think resourcefulness, descarte, is a core value, right? And that's very important. If you don't have descarte, if you're not resourceful, you might be the best person to be a friend, for me in my personal life, but you won't survive in our business,
this
right?
company,
How do we build all of this stuff and there's always things moving? You got to be resourceful. So right person is the person who is culturally fit for your business, who has the most important characteristics, right? So that's right person. Right seat, these are people who can do whatever jobs need to be done in the organization. And this can change. So, for example, when you're maybe a $1 million company, $1 million in revenues, you need a sales seat filled that will bring in this much customers. This will have at least this bigger network. When you're 5 times bigger than that, the seat changes, right? So when you say right seat, you could have a person who's right person, right set of values, but would fall off that seat now. It's just too small for that seat. So when we say right person, right seat, we're saying people who are great for your company, both from a culture perspective and from a job fit perspective. So if you have 20 people in your company, you look at, or 20 seats, you look at the 20 seats, you look at all the people in those seats and make sure that each one is right person, right seat. We have a tool to help you analyze that. We call it the People Analyzer, and you can download it for free from our website. And then you're able to see, out of the 20 people that I have, 10 people have right people issues. For example, they're not resourceful. They're great everywhere else, but they're not resourceful. And that's why we're having issues with them. And then there's right seat. Maybe 5 of them are in the wrong seats. Hopefully you can find a better seat for them. Sometimes it's just a matter of clarity. Oh my gosh, he would actually be better for this seat. He has the skills, he has the experience, right? He wants this. So you kind of move people around and then make sure that you're building right people. It's like drafting a team for a new season, right?
Yeah, that's why the basketball analogy works very, very well for this
Yes.
one. Like,
Basketball, even in theater, drafting the correct character
Cast,
for
yeah.
or the correct
yeah.
cast for to play these
Exactly.
characters over here. Oh, and when you talk about the seats, there are not X number of seats. This is just like you said. No, I mean, to my mind, right now, seats are just basically you've got your visionary, you have what they call the integrator.
Yes,
and then
the puzzle piece.
Yeah, puzzle piece. But you only just have mainly 3. Sometimes it can be more, but basically it's your sales person generating money, the person operating the business, and the person handling the finances.
Correct.
So those are just the basic seats that you have. And if it's wrong seat, it's just basic people filling up these key seats that are the most important. Is that correct?
That's correct. As the business grows in complexity and as the business grows in size, you might want to start splitting the seats, right? So, for example, sales and marketing, that revenue generating seat, sometimes split into sales and marketing, right? We discourage a lot of this splitting because as soon as you split, you start to make it a little more complex. Gray areas start to be in between. But yes, everyone else in the organization becomes an extension of these seats, right? So if you have a 500 people company and you interview someone, random person in the company and ask what you do, you'd be able to trace that back to supporting either a revenue generating seat, an operating seat, or a resource management seat.
Question, coming back to the idea of human energy and the emotions involved in doing this one, because it's easy to say to somebody, okay, you don't belong to this seat. We can say that very rationally, but then there's a lot of emotions attached to the movements involved in putting the foundations in place. How do we handle it? Like Vanessa, I'm gonna go back to us because it's something that we're also
Yeah.
going through at the same time. That how do you think we're handling? How did you think as we move people around? How are the emotions involved here, or how are the people? How do you think people felt as they were going through that one?
Well, ironically, I think it was quite positive because the people who felt, the people who we told in that meeting, in the EOS meeting, you got to step up if you want this seat. And I can see now, the past 2 months, they're really stepping up. They really want this
To become
seat.
the right person
To
in
become
that
the
right
right
seat.
person in the right seat. And the person who initially, and then another person who initially said, I don't want this seat, or I don't think I cut out. And then he's still trying to get to be part of that seat. We can see that he really isn't, we can really see he's not cut out for the seat. So I think parang more than anything, the truth is coming out. for me as a founder, I'd like to think that it's evolving into honesty. The truth is coming out. So yes, a lot of emotions, a lot of people trying to the way I see it, they're really trying their best to be part of the seat, and which makes it more like, hey, they really love this company. Pala, it makes me realize they really want to belong. They really want to stay.
Got that. And how about you, Aya, from your experience with handling, I guess, the emotional aspect of it all? Because it's still very key. I mean, that
Yeah, we're people.
We're people. We're companies built on human energy, like
Yes.
you were saying.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the process of EOS has been very well thought out. It's been used by thousands of people. So all I ask for teams is just trust the process. Follow me. I'm going to guide you. Trust the process. What happens here is once you free, specific to this exercise of clarifying the seats, right? Once you free everyone, you direct them clearly, get out of your egos and just get out of the seats. Actually, you're all fired. Everybody's fired. Owner's fired. Daddy's fired. Everybody's fired, right? Let's think about what this business needs. They're defining the seats themselves, right? And they're all saying, yes, actually, for the revenue seat, we need someone who's going to be accountable for, recruiting these people to form a sales force, whatever. They're clarifying this. They're not thinking of who's doing that now, so it's not personal. And then the next step after that is, okay, now that we're clear what the seat needs, who applies for that seat? And then even me, for example, if I'm the one who came from or who used to be or is presently in the revenue generating seat, with the clarity of what it is now and what the business needs, I have the freedom to say, oh gosh, I don't want that seat. If that's what this business needs, I'm not the person for it. So the emotion, there's still emotions. They're still like, oh my gosh, what happened here? But everyone is able to see clearly for themselves, they're not a good fit. And so if they want to continue to be with the company because they love the company, now they're clear on what that gap is. And now we can take very specific steps to close that gap. Otherwise, everybody's given freedom to be true to themselves and say, I may not be successful here. It's not what they need. I'll go somewhere else and succeed there.
Where they will be happier.
Yeah. So I think in the end, even if there's the emotions, I think we ask this from everybody, right? My expectation for every session is that everyone be open and honest, because if you don't know what's going on there, we don't know what the issue is. So people could say during this RPRS exercise, they could say, gosh, I don't have a seat. Right? I'm doing all of these little things all over the place, but I actually don't have a seat that I feel so useless. Now, what do I do? We can solve that together, right? So yes, there's a lot of emotions, but the process is built so that nobody's blindsided, right? And then if there are still raw emotions at the end of it, it's just an issue and we solve it together.
Got that. Now, like I said, we in Mercato are still undergoing the process. And as I was saying, there is a phase 1, phase 2, which is where we are before doing the execution. But so far, I want to ask Vanessa, what do you feel has already changed for you? What has been the biggest, I guess, breakthrough from you, both from a professional and even from a personal standpoint, that putting the systems in place of EOS has helped you with?
Yeah, two things I wanted to express. No, one is my relationship with you as husband and my relationship with you as a business partner. That has drastically changed. And I see, well, I don't want to say there's more respect, but the way that we speak to each other, we now can more define, we have this thing at home now. Okay, are we putting on our husband-wife hat or are we putting on our business partner hat? So that's more clearly defined, and hence there's more respect in both ways.
There's no bleeding. There's no bleeding.
There's no bleeding. It doesn't bleed through anymore. Unlike before, everything was like, oh, we got to do this. We got to do that. So, but okay, and then I always go back to, if I were, let's say, Jomag, our business partner, would you talk to me that way? You wouldn't. So you're not respecting me. So, but now, because roles are clearly defined, actions are also clearly defined, it's so much easier to talk at home in the car, in the office. So we fight less now. Congratulations. We fight less. No, but we don't fight. We argue less. We know what what conversation belongs where. So that's one of the things. That's the one of the big things that happened after EOS. Another is I kind of I felt what you were talking about when you said I was doing so many little things everywhere, from finance to integrator to even marketing sometimes, and everywhere, that I didn't know where to place myself, only to realize at the end that I'm actually not needed by the company anymore. And for me to stay there would actually mean less growth. Why? Because the people that are supposed to be in their leadership team are hanging on to me or depending on me or waiting for me. Oh, what's boss gonna say? Or what will she approve? And because of that, that's actually sort of a cross for them from growing. And they're not able to be the leaders that they should be. And so by staying, not only will the company, I feel, not grow, but the people in the leadership seats are not going to grow. So sorry to say, RJ, but I really have to go and just stay in the owner's box. But the owner's box also has duties.
Yeah.
We're not just, okay, fine, I'm already retired. It's not about that. There's also actually responsibilities of the owner.
And sometimes even the owner can wear the hat of somebody under one of the people in the seats to play a specific role in that one. Is that correct?
Correct. Just no playing the owner's card, right? When you're an employee of the business, you're as accountable as anyone else. You can be fired like everyone else. So when you own a seat, you own it like an employee who owns their salary, right? You cannot ever say, "But I'm the owner," because you're not in the right seat if that's what you're doing. Yeah.
On my part, what I've realized is that I can even do a better role as a visionary because I can continue to generate ideas. Because I think I am an idea generation machine.
Yes.
Yes, you
But
are.
now, because, and later on, they'll learn as Aya comes back, there's a concept of rocks. Rocks meaning, what are your priorities for this specific quarter?
Correct.
We're not even thinking the whole year. We're just thinking per quarter. And rocks, if you can put this rock here for that idea that you have, because it works. And everybody can put all the resources behind this one. Instead of putting a lot of different small little pebbles over there, then they can't focus because there's too many pebbles there. You can put that rock maybe in the second quarter or the third quarter. So it helps you also prioritize
Yeah,
what you think
yeah.
are most important. I think that for me was one of my bigger changes for me. And
Yeah.
also because with Vanessa in the owner's box and me as a visionary, being the entrepreneurs that we are, also gives us an opportunity to look at other opportunities out there, because that's how it's like. Because I know that you can't help it. Entrepreneurs are really always on the lookout for other things, and
New
when you have a
ideas.
system in place, sometimes it makes it easier. Okay, great. Now I know things are running well. I can actually look now for other opportunities.
Right,
Is
and
that
not-
correct? Is that correct, Aya?
It is correct. Beyond you can, you should, because in the visionary seat, this is your job. The big ideas, this is your job, and this is why I've found, for example, some of my clients that are visionaries but have stepped into the operating role too long. When they realize, oh, we're missing a seat, I'm missing my puzzle piece, and they find their perfect puzzle piece, their integrator, as we call it, right? And this integrator is running the day-to-day, P&L, accountability, project managing. Now the leadership team is looking at this visionary and saying, what's the next big strategy? And I find sometimes it's sad because these visionaries, not
Drowned.
forget.
Yeah,
They're
it's
not.
like they're tired.
They're not that they forget how to strategize, but they've kind of lost the confidence to do it because they've been in the integrator seat for too long. when you're the visionary, you just don't have the opportunity look for ideas. It's your job to bring us ideas. You go out to the market, see what where the market is going, and give us the strategies.
Exactly.
Even
yeah.
if you have to travel and find the ideas
Yes,
outside.
perfect. That's
you will
the
be
best.
paid to
I can travel with the
travel.
owner's box person, and the visionary can travel and find
And that's
great ideas out
precisely
there.
how we found the
Exactly.
business idea in Florence.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Now, I want to go back right now and speaking to the entrepreneurs and companies listening to us here right now. Let's step back and think about if they are looking at their own companies right now. When can they tell that there are signs that maybe the founders' dynamics are preventing the growth of the company, or they becoming more of a barrier now than it is of a support.
I don't think there's any specific sign. What I'd challenge or what I'd maybe ask your audience right now to do, as I do when I take my clarity breaks, we call it, is just think separately about their business lives and their personal lives, right? And just rate it 1 to 10. 10 being the best. How happy am I? I'll say, for example, to myself, how happy am I with my business? 1 to 10. 10 being the best. And if I say, okay, I'm a 7, right? Why a 7? Why not a 10? What are the things that are preventing me from being a 10 in business? I do the same in my personal life, right? How happy am I in my personal life? And when I just scribble those down, I can see, right? In EOS, what we're doing here is we're smoking out issues, right? Although those are the issues. And there you can see, okay, this is founder dynamic, right? This is just a missing seat in the business. So that's what I would say. But I think the closest, easiest indication is if I was asked to score this 1 to 10, if I'm not an 8, 9, or 10, I need something to fix it because it's not worth. Life is too short. Not worth it.
Got it. So when's the best time for actually people to start bringing in EOS to their organization? Should they wait until they hit a wall? You know what I mean? Or when they did, or some of them were saying, I'm 2 years old. I'm too young. I'm a 50-year-old company. I don't need EOS. When is I guess I know it's a very almost like a philosophical question, but when is the best time you think that EOS is brought in?
If you're frustrated, you're not growing fast enough, you're frustrated about people, nobody understands you, you're running after the business. In terms of size, what we find is around 10 people, you already need a system because it's just gotten a lot more complex, right? We do not recommend EOS when your business hasn't turned a profit, which is when it's not a good system for startups. As you know, we run on a 90-day world, right? And when you're a startup, you need to run faster than this because you're
Yes.
throwing stuff on the wall and looking at what sticks, right? But we assume that you have a market to product fit. We assume that you're profitable. If you don't even have that business yet, EOS is not yet the system for you. But once you're turning over a profit, you have about 10 people, right? Usually that's how it's very complex at that point. Then you start to look at EOS.
Got that. And finally, as we start to wrap up this discussion, EOS has been the commitment that we've had to put to it. If you weren't there, we're very happy that we're privileged that you're here. But it's literally 100% for the company. What level of commitment is required, especially if you do it yourself for this one? Because it's easy to say, okay, I'll try it EOS, but then I'll let it go the next time around. Parang one system lang, diba? I can try something else the next time. I'll try something else the next time.
I ask leadership teams who want to run on EOS to mentally commit to give themselves 2 years to master the process. It's a process. It's a journey, right? So as we learn, like when we're growing, we want to master, I don't know, we go through college, we master a certain a degree, for example. It's a phased learning approach. So I ask for 2 years. And I also ask that they commit to that long-term vision, right? The commitment to create a great company has to be stronger than the short-term gains because this is going to take a lot of work. EOS is simple. It's not easy, right? But it's worth it.
Got it. And
But
Vanessa,
it's easy. I'm sorry.
Yeah, good, good.
I was
But
gonna
it's
say,
easy.
but it's easy for me.
Yeah, and
Something.
and it's easy for you because you've gone through the process. So I know that you got a lot of friends who are also entrepreneurs. Why would you recommend this to them?
Well, if you are struggling with employee issues, first and foremost, struggling with even with profits, with the system of tracking profits and growing profits, this is something that you really need to have in your company. But more than that, I was saying how it's work, it's 2 years, it's hard work. I personally I don't see that at all. In fact, I'd like to say it's saving grace. I'm not trying to sell here, ha. I'm just saying that wow, the things that day one palang, the very first meeting, the things that I realized about the great seats, the right seats, firing everybody, and our very client is the company itself. The client is not the founders. The owners are not the client here. It's the company. That in itself, that I mean, the whole thing that we learned that day one from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., I can take that and I can survive for 5 years already, just with that one day of learning. So that's how much, not just like EOS, but how much I felt it was so much needed in our company. And so if you're, if you're an entrepreneur and you have this great product and you've already reached the point na you know your market, you're already profiting. However, you have systems issues or employment issues, then this is something that you have to have.
Yeah, and I know from you being the owner's box and me being your spouse, I know that you've been enjoying the Good to Great book via Audible. You're listening to it in the shower. You're listening to it before you go to
listen to
sleep
it
at
in the
night
shower.
because it's part of the
Love it.
methodology from there has also is used also in US. That's what you enjoyed the most about the Good to Great that you saw also was very important as we were implementing EOS.
Well, okay, so the good to great, the number one thing I loved learning was about the hedgehog concept. And this goes back to my relationship with RJ. Na he's such a multifaceted person. He's all over the place. Basically, he's exposed to so many things, so many people. So hedgehog concept basically says that parang what are your company's strengths and goals and purpose. Sorry, I'm just trying to narrate, but the top three things, and goes back to rocks also. The top three things that the company should be focusing on, that should actually be what everybody's putting their energies to. And so all the little things that RJ wants to do, like he wakes up one day, he wants to do, collaborate with this. But remember, wait, what's our hedgehog concept and what are our rocks? The top three things that we're supposed to be focusing on. And so that becomes like our mantra for the first quarter. And hence, there you go. It makes life easier, not just in the office, but at home.
Yeah, exactly. Aya, just to a bit more about the hedgehog. Can you maybe
Yes.
just help people better appreciate what the
Yeah,
hedgehog is?
so
Explain
chapter
better.
5 of Good to Great talks about the hedgehog concept. It shows the contrast between the hedgehog and the fox, right? The sly fox who tries to catch the hedgehog. The hedgehog is only great at one thing. It's rolling into a ball and then keeping itself safe. So your hedgehog is what you're great at as a business. We can't be great at everything. So we clarify what that is. We call it our core focus so that all of our process, our energy, the people that we hire, everything we do is focused on that core focus. And so we go farther as a business. We get to our goals faster, and we're able to take out all the noise, all the distractions are
Shining, shimmering
all
distraction.
all the shiny stuff we ignore, and we go after what we want our business to make a dent in the universe for or with.
Got that. And finally, with that, Aya, for those who want to sign up for US or are interested to start out the business, where should they go?
Usually visit our website, eosworldwide.com. If you want to get in, there's a lot of free stuff there already. And if you want to get in touch with an EOS implementer, you can go to the directory, look for Philippines. There's 5 of us now in the Philippines. And also, if it's okay, I have just been given the master franchise for EOS, which means if there's anyone who has this passion, an entrepreneur who is passionate about helping other entrepreneurs build great businesses and live great lives as an EOS implementer, please reach out to me as well, also from the website, and I'd be glad to see if you're a fit for a community.
Fantastic. If I could do more than what I'm already doing right now, I would love to be an
You
implementer
would
for
actually
US.
be a great
You'll be in
one.
my, you're in my
Yeah.
future
Yeah.
EOS implementer list.
But that is a rock for later. But and with that, Vanessa, let's invite also people if you got small food businesses and aspiring food business entrepreneurs who want to become part of Mercato.
That's right. Please visit us in our Instagram page, mercatocentral.ph.
Or Facebook.
Or Facebook, of course, Mercato Central. If you have a special dish, even a homemade mama's recipe, grandparents' heirloom recipe that you want to test and see if it's going to make it in the market, Mercato Central is the perfect place to try. We'll help you not only discover your dishes, but also help you grow. Yes, and we're going nationwide. That's part of the pipeline.
It's part of the
that's
rocks.
exciting. Part of the rocks, future rocks. And we're also open to non-food. Starting end of this year, we are launching markets that are both food and non-food. So this is not just for the food entrepreneurs. Non-food is going to be welcome.
And with that, thank you so much, both Aya and Vanessa, for guesting here on this very, very special episode of the RJ Ledesma Podcast. We will see you guys in the next podcast. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
The opinions of podcast creators, hosts, and guests are not necessarily reflective of the official stance of the Pod Network Entertainment, its hosts, or other network programs. The content created by the people behind the podcast is personal and not meant to harm any religion, ethnicity, group, organization, company, or individual.